So I got this question on YouTube and it reads, where did you learn how to use Dolby Atmos? I'm trying to find a course or a college to do Dolby Atmos. And what you got to understand with Dolby Atmos is, if you know how to mix in stereo, you'll know how to mix in Dolby Atmos. There's only a few things additionally that you have to learn. And those are mainly panning. And it's very different to, you're working in stereo, you're panning left, you're panning right. That's all you're panning. With Dolby Atmos, you're panning very differently. You're panning left, right, you're panning to the back, you're panning to the right bag, up, down, in, out. It's you're working in a kind of in a box, and anywhere in that box you can put sound. So if, for instance, I wanted it to sound like it was coming from there, I can put it up there. If I want it to be there, I can put it there. I can put sound anywhere I want. If I want it to bring it closer to me, so it's really there, I can bring it there. If I want it a bit further away, I can put it there. It's a lot easier than you think how to do it. It's very simple to work in Dolby Atmos and position sound, because it's natural to how sound should sound. Sound in the real world doesn't just come from there and there. It comes from all around you. So, if you've got a sound, for instance, thunder that's in a track as like Foley bits, put them on top, because that's natural. That's where thunder is. It's around you, up top, all above you. Strings, you can put strings behind you, pads behind you, things come around you like this. Drums, bang, straight up front. So you can really take what you know from mixing in stereo and just apply it to Atmos. And there isn't a huge amount that you need to know. And what this question has inspired me to do is, I'm now going to create like a mini series answering basically what you actually need to know in Dolby Atmos to move from stereo to Dolby Atmos. What you actually need to know. And there's a few courses out there which are, go through this and this and this and this, and it's all stuff you don't need to know, and you really don't need to know. And it's written by people who don't actually work on the format. Technically, they don't mix it. They're not real world users of Dolby Atmos. They're not like you and I. They're just not. And I've watched these videos, and they're not written in the right way to. They're written by a teacher and a tutor, and you know what it's like. You go to school when you're a kid, and you get taught by someone, and you're taught a curriculum, and you walk away and go, I didn't need to know that. I only needed to know that tiny little bit. The majority of what I learnt at school, for instance, the only time I'm ever going to need any of that information is if I'm down a pub doing a pub quiz, for instance. There's no reason I need to know in what order Henry VIII beheaded his wives. I don't need to know it. Never needed to know it. I've never needed to know it since I left school. Okay, so that's what I'm getting at here, is there isn't a massive amount that you need to know. So what I want to do with this mini series is to basically pick out all the things you actually need to know, and you can watch the video and go and actually find out, right, I need to know that, I need to know that, and I need to know that. And there isn't a huge amount that you need to know. It's mainly panning around the room is kind of the main big thing, but everything else is pretty much what you know in stereo is the same. It's just now everything up until the output point is all the same. We process sound in the same way. The only difference maybe is, instead of putting something in mono, you'll put something in the center of the speaker. You'll put something into that speaker there, that center speaker. Other things like you'll have sends to LFEs. So these two speakers, left and right at the center, are LFEs. And that's all your sub information. You'll send stuff to the sub. Little things like that. And then you've got objects versus beds and things like that, where you've got things like objects versus bed. To answer that quickly, objects will play out of beds will play out of 7.1.2 or 7.1.4. They will play out of 7 speakers around the front, which is your centre, left, right of you, back, left and right, and if it's 7.1.2, the 2 on the ceiling, so left and right on the ceiling, and then 1 being your sub. Objects, on the other hand, if I've got 20 speakers down the left hand side here and 20 speakers down the right hand side, it will go across all those speakers. Now, if it was 7.1.2, if I panned around a room like that, it would only fill the left speaker, the hard left speaker, and then the back left speaker. Whereas an object panning around the room will fill every speaker. It will go through every speaker as it moves around the room, which means when you're listening in if you're upscaling into a larger room, as you pan around that room, you'll hit every speaker in an object, and it will sound cohesive and it will smoothly go around the room. Whereas if you were using a bed, it would miss out 5 speakers between, and then 5 speakers between the back speaker. So that's one thing that's different to working in stereo. So there's a few things, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this little mini series. But like I said before, if you know how to mix in stereo, you can mix a song and you can get a great sound in stereo. You can then port that into Dolby Atmos. For instance, a job that I get a lot is that people will mix. They'll mix their track in stereo and they'll mix it, and then what they'll do is they'll give it to me to turn into Atmos. And I can take something that is mixed, however it's mixed in stereo, and I can turn that into Atmos, because it's a case of positioning and doing various other little things. But ultimately, it is the stereo mix positioned. Okay, so there's not a massive amount to learn, but to answer your question about a course, wait a couple of weeks and I'll put together this course, and I am doing this exclusive for this user who commented on the video. I want to put this course together because if you're asking me about a course, then there's other people who will want this sort of course, and I'll do it as a little mini one, and we'll see how many people get on board with that, and then we'll do a more advanced thing, and I'll start doing a load of courses that are not just Atmos related, but mixing related and mastering related. And what I want to do is I want to just tell you about what's actually important, rather than tell you about all these other things that you'll never actually need to do, and they're not important. The time that we have in the video, let's spend that talking about what is actually important. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, and I know full well that the video content that I make for this mini series will be in a lot more detail, and a lot better for you to watch and take a lot from. But yeah, there's, like I say, if you can mix in stereo, you can mix in Dolby Atmos.